There is a special kind of trust you place in someone when you show them the blueprint of your soul. For me, that blueprint was a 200-page research thesis. It wasn't just paper and ink. It was 2 years of my life. It was sleepless nights in the library, cups of cold coffee, and 1,000 frantic ideas scribbled on napkins. It was my future, laid out in graphs and footnotes. My name is Anya, and in my final year of university, my future was the most beautiful thing I could imagine. My thesis was on a new kind of data encryption, a complex, elegant system that could change how small businesses protected their information. My professor called it revolutionary. I called it my life's work. And I shared it all with my best friend, Chloe. Chloe was everything I was not. Charismatic, popular, effortlessly brilliant. Where I was quiet and meticulous, she was a whirlwind of energy and ideas. We were an unlikely pair, the library mouse and the social butterfly, but our friendship felt unbreakable. We were going to conquer the world together. I'd stay up all night perfecting a line of code, and she'd bring me coffee and snacks, telling me to take a break. She was my biggest cheerleader. "This is going to be huge, Anya," she'd say, her eyes wide with excitement as she looked over my shoulder at my laptop screen. "You're going to be famous. Don't forget your little friend when you're accepting your awards." I'd just laugh and shoo her away. I trusted her completely. The deadline for the prestigious Young Innovator Award was approaching. The winner got a full-ride scholarship for their master's degree and a cash prize that would solve all my financial problems. My thesis was my entry. It was my ticket to everything. The night before the submission, I was putting the final touches on the document. I was in our shared apartment, my laptop glowing in the dark living room. Chloe came home late, smelling of perfume and laughter from a party I'd skipped to work. "Still at it?" she asked, flopping onto the couch next to me. "Just the final proofread," I said, my eyes blurry with fatigue. "I'm going to submit it first thing in the morning." She put a hand on my shoulder. "You look exhausted. Go to bed. I'll make you some tea and you can look at it with fresh eyes tomorrow. You've earned a rest." I was so tired. Her suggestion felt like a lifeline. "Are you sure?" "Of course. Go on. I'll shut everything down for you." I gave her a grateful smile, saved my work, and dragged myself to my bedroom. The last thing I remember is hearing the gentle click of my laptop closing. It was the last night I ever trusted anyone so completely. I woke up the next morning feeling lighter than I had in months. Today was the day. I walked into the living room, ready to submit my thesis and start the rest of my life. My laptop was on the coffee table, right where I'd left it. I opened it and clicked on the folder for my thesis. It was empty. My heart gave a single, hard thud. This had to be a mistake, a glitch. I searched my entire computer. I checked the recycle bin. Nothing. A cold, sharp fear began to prick at my skin. 2 years of work. Gone. That's when I saw the note, scribbled on a piece of paper next to my laptop. "Anya had a sudden family emergency out of town. So sorry. Good luck with your submission. Chloe." Family emergency. She hadn't mentioned anything last night. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely type. I tried calling her phone. It went straight to voicemail. I spent the next few hours in a blind panic, trying data recovery software, crying, begging my computer to give me back my work. It was useless. The file was gone. Devastated, I had to go to the award committee with nothing. I tried to explain, to tell them about my thesis, about the data loss, but without proof, my words were just a desperate, empty story. They gave me a pitying look and told me there was nothing they could do. I went back to my empty apartment, my dreams shattered. I was a failure. I had nothing to show for 2 years of my life. A week later, the award winners were announced. I couldn't bring myself to go to the ceremony. I stayed in my room, wrapped in a blanket of my own despair. My phone buzzed. It was a text from a friend. A single line with a link to the university news site. "OMG, Anya, isn't this your research?" I clicked the link, and the world fell out from under me. There on the screen was a picture of Chloe. She was standing on a stage, holding a giant check and a trophy. The headline read, Chloe Miller wins Young Innovator Award with groundbreaking data encryption model. The description of her winning project was word for word my thesis, my idea, my life's work. She hadn't had a family emergency. She had stolen my research, deleted my files, and submitted it as her own. The betrayal was so complete, so brutal, it felt like a physical blow. I couldn't breathe. The person I trusted most in the world had looked at my future, decided she wanted it for herself, and simply taken it. I was left with nothing but the ghost of my own ambition, and a burning, silent rage that would one day consume her whole. The days after the announcement were a blur of gray. I confronted Chloe when she finally returned, triumphant, to our apartment. She looked at me with an expression of pure, practiced innocence. Anya, what are you talking about? That was my project. I've been working on it for months. You know that. You looked over my shoulder every day, I cried, my voice cracking. You saw my work, you helped me. I was working on my own similar ideas, she said calmly, a faint, condescending smile on her lips. It's a shame yours got deleted. It's a competitive field. These things happen. She had an answer for everything. She had planned this. She had taken my trust and my work, and she had left me with no proof, no recourse, nothing but my word against hers. And her word, the word of the bright, charismatic award winner, was worth so much more than mine. I dropped out of university. I couldn't bear to be on the same campus, to see her celebrated for my genius. The professors I respected now saw me as a jealous, unstable girl trying to steal credit from a star student. I moved back in with my parents, broken and defeated. The fire inside me had been extinguished. I got a job as a receptionist at a small company, my dreams of changing the tech world reduced to answering phones and sorting mail. I watched from a distance as Chloe's star rose. She gave TEDx talks. She got her master's degree. She was featured in magazines as a tech wunderkind. Every article was a fresh stab of pain. Every photo of her smug, smiling face was a reminder of what she had stolen from me. For 5 years, I was a ghost. I went through the motions of life, but the real me was gone, buried under the weight of that betrayal. But then, something shifted. The anger that had been a dull, cold ember inside me began to warm. It wasn't a raging fire, not yet. It was a slow, steady burn, a purpose. I was still brilliant. I was still a fighter. She had taken my first creation, but she couldn't take my mind. While I was answering phones, I was also watching, learning. I saw how businesses worked where their weaknesses were, and I started to code again. At night, on my old laptop, I began to build something new, not an encryption model this time, something else. A security audit system, a program that could find the flaws in other systems. I called it the Ghost, and I was its only operator. I had a new plan. It wasn't enough to just expose her. I had to prove, beyond any doubt, that she was a fraud. I had to take everything she had built on the foundation of my stolen work. The ghost was waking up, and it was hungry. My new life had a single, focused goal: find the proof. Chloe had built a company, Veridian Shield, entirely around the encryption model she had stolen from me. It was worth millions. She was a tech celebrity. But I knew something she had forgotten. My original thesis, the one she stole, had a tiny, hidden flaw. A backdoor I had coded in, just for testing purposes. I had never removed it. It was my secret signature, a complex sequence buried so deep in the code that no one would ever find it unless they knew exactly where to look. If her company's system still had that flaw, it was the smoking gun. It was my fingerprint on the murder weapon. But I needed access. I couldn't just walk into Veridian Shield and ask to see their source code. So I became a shadow. I used the ghost to audit the security of dozens of companies, building a reputation under a fake name. I was careful, anonymous, and very, very good. I studied everything about Veridian Shield. I read every interview Chloe gave. I learned the names of her board members, her investors, her clients. I was a digital stalker, learning the habits of my prey. I discovered that Veridian Shield's biggest client was a massive bank, Omni Trust Financial. And I found their weakness. Their own internal security was outdated. Using the ghost, I identified a vulnerability in their system, not to exploit it, but to help them. I created a new, anonymous email. I wrote to the head of security at OmniTrust. I laid out the vulnerability in precise, technical detail. I explained the risk, and then I made a suggestion. I recommend you have your new encryption provider, Veridian Shield, run a full diagnostic. If their system is as secure as they claim, they should be able to identify and patch this same vulnerability from their end. It would be the ultimate test of their product's integrity. I was handing them away to test Chloe. I was setting the trap, using her biggest client as the bait. The head of security wrote back. He was intrigued and concerned. He said he would be in touch with Veridian Shield immediately. I leaned back in my chair, a slow smile spreading across my face for the first time in years. The hook was set. Now I just had to wait for Chloe to take it. A week later, my phone buzzed. It was an alert I had set up for job postings at Veridian Shield. A new listing had just gone live. Senior Security Analyst contract position. Urgent project for major client. Must have expertise in systemic vulnerability detection. My heart leaped. This was it. The bank had pressured her and she was scrambling. She needed an expert fast to run this diagnostic and prove her system was flawless. She had no idea she was about to hire the one person in the world who knew it wasn't. I applied for the job immediately. I used my fake name, Anna Lee, and the reputation I had built with the ghost as my reference. My resume was impeccable, tailored perfectly for the role. Within hours, I got a response. They wanted an interview, a video call. The day of the interview, my hands were ice cold. I set up my computer in my small, tidy apartment, making sure the background was neutral and professional. I took a deep breath and clicked the link. And there she was, Chloe, on my screen. She looked older, more polished, with the sharp, confident air of a CEO. But her smile was the same. It made my stomach turn. "Anna, thank you for joining us," she said, all business. "We're very impressed with your background. This ghost audit system you've developed is remarkable." "Thank you," I said, keeping my voice calm and steady, modulating it slightly so she wouldn't recognize me. "I understand you have an urgent need." "Yes, a top client needs reassurance. We need to run a full-scale diagnostic of our system's response to a specific vulnerability. We need to prove we can not only withstand it, but identify and neutralize it from within." I nodded. "I can do that. My audit will be thorough. I will find every weakness, every flaw. I leave no stone unturned." I looked directly into the camera, into her eyes on the screen. I wanted to say, "I will find the flaw you built your life on, Chloe." She smiled, a tight, professional expression. "Perfect. You're hired. The project starts Monday. We'll give you full temporary access to our development server." Full access to the heart of her company, to the source code of my stolen thesis. I had done it. I had walked right through the front door. The ghost was now inside the machine. My first day at Veridian Shield was a surreal out-of-body experience. I walked into the sleek, modern office as Anna Lee, the contractor. I was given a security badge and a login to their most secure server. I saw Chloe in the hallway. She walked past me without a second glance. I was just another faceless employee. To her, Anya was a ghost from a past she had buried. I went to work. My fingers flew across the keyboard, a conductor leading an orchestra of code. It was all so familiar. This was my symphony. She had been playing it for years, but she had never learned to read the music. It took me less than an hour to find it. There it was, my flaw, my secret signature. The complex, elegant backdoor I had written 5 years ago, buried deep in the core of the Veridian Shield encryption model. It was unchanged. She had never even found it, let alone understood it. This was the proof, the undeniable link between her multi-million-dollar company and the thesis she had stolen from my laptop. But I wasn't done. I compiled my evidence. I took screenshots. I recorded my screen as I navigated to the exact lines of code, showing the creation date that predated her award submission. I packaged it all into a single, damning folder. The day of the big presentation arrived. Chloe was going to present the results of my audit to the board and the representatives from Omni Trust Bank. She was going to declare her system flawless. I sat at the back of the conference room, my laptop open. I was just Anna, the contractor. No one paid me any attention. Chloe stood at the front of the room, confident and beaming. She clicked through her slides, talking about innovation, integrity, security. And thanks to the exhaustive audit by Ms. Lee, she said, gesturing vaguely in my direction, we can confidently state that the Veridian shield system possesses not a single critical flaw. It is, as we have always promised, impenetrable. The room broke into polite applause. That was my cue. I stood up, every head turned toward me. Actually, I said, my voice clear and loud in the quiet room, that's not true. Chloe's smile froze. I'm sorry, Anna. Is there something you'd like to add? Yes, I said, walking toward the front of the room. There is one critical flaw, a backdoor, buried right here. I plugged my laptop into the projector. The damning code filled the giant screen on the wall. Chloe's face went pale. What is this? This is nonsense. That's not our code. It is, I said calmly, and I can prove it because I wrote it. I turned to face the room, my eyes finding Chloe. The confusion on her face was slowly turning into dawning, horrified recognition. My name isn't Anna Lee, I said, my voice ringing with a power I hadn't felt in years. My name is Anya Sharma, and 5 years ago, Chloe Miller stole my university thesis, deleted my files, and built this company on my work. This code is my signature. This flaw is the proof that Veridian shield is built on a lie. I turned back to the screen and clicked a button. The folder of evidence opened, displaying the timeline, the dates, the undeniable truth. The room erupted into chaos. Board members were shouting. The men from Omni Trust Bank were on their phones. Chloe was just standing there, staring at the screen at me. The brilliant, charismatic CEO was gone. In her place was an exposed, terrified fraud. She was left completely speechless. The ghost had finally spoken, and everyone was listening. The fallout was swift and brutal. Omni Trust Bank terminated their contract immediately. The story was picked up by every major tech news outlet. Tech darling exposed as a fraud. Veridian shield collapses after stolen research revealed. Chloe's company was worthless by the end of the week. She faced multiple lawsuits for fraud and intellectual property theft. Her TEDx talks were removed. Her awards were rescinded. The world that had celebrated her now turned its back on her. I didn't feel the sweet triumph I thought I would. I felt a quiet, profound sense of justice, of closure. I reclaimed my work. I patented my original encryption model, the right way this time. Companies that had left Veridian Shield came to me, asking to license the technology from its true creator. I didn't just get my revenge. I got my legacy back. A year later, I was the one giving a talk. I was on a stage, talking about resilience, about integrity, about the importance of protecting your work, but also the importance of not letting betrayal destroy you. I learned that revenge isn't about destroying the person who hurt you, I told the audience. It's about reclaiming the parts of yourself they tried to take. They can steal your work, but they can't steal your mind. They can break your trust, but they can't break your spirit. After the talk, as people were filing out, I saw a figure standing at the back of the room. It was Chloe. She looked tired, ordinary. The glamour and arrogance were completely gone. She walked up to me. Anya, she said, her voice quiet. Chloe. She swallowed. I'm sorry. I looked at her. The anger was gone. All that was left was a kind of pity. I know, I said. It was the worst mistake of my life, she whispered. I was jealous. I saw how brilliant you were, and I just wanted it. I never thought it would go this far. Everything has a consequence, Chloe, I said softly. She nodded, tears in her eyes. Then she turned and walked away. I watched her go. She was a chapter in my story, a painful, important chapter, but she wasn't the whole book. My story was about more than betrayal. It was about getting back up. It was about the quiet, stubborn strength of building something beautiful from the ashes of something broken. They can try to erase you. They can try to take your name. But your legacy isn't what someone puts on a trophy. It's what you build with your own two hands. It's the truth you fight for. It's the person you become when you decide to stop being a victim and start being a force of nature. My name is Anya, and my legacy is just beginning.